Hello and welcome to World Insight, coming to you from Beijing. I'm Tian Wei. We begin today's program with ongoing efforts to contain the COVID-19 spread. While China is holding the trenches against the epidemic, the rest of the world is starting to grapple with its own rapid spread on their home soil. So how can the world effectively deal with the crisis all together? Dr. Bruce Aylward, a WHO epidemiologist who led the China WHO joint mission on COVID-19, told me in an exclusive interview that collective international research can speed up control of the outbreak. As a frontliner who took part in research on Zika, Ebola, and yellow fever, he said the world had gone faster in viral research and sharing the data, but certainly there are more we could do to stop its spread. For more, joining us in Geneva, Bruce Aylward, the WHO epidemiologist who also led the WHO China joint mission on COVID-19. Dr. Aylward, welcome to CGTN.
Thank you very much, Wei.
Dr. Aylward, this is a complicated world. With an epidemic, there's also geopolitics. Are you afraid that people will accuse you of doing propaganda for China?
It's interesting. We were very careful writing the report that we avoided hyperbole, even though as individuals, many of us had not worked in China for some years, and we were really struck by both the sophistication of the public health work and of the health system, also of technology and how it's used in China. We were struck by that. We were also struck by the Chinese people, really, really wonderful people, a wonderful society. But we had to take that out of the report because the report was not about hyperbole. It was about the science. And what we tried to focus on were things we observed that can help guide the global and national response. And we were never speculated. We always tried to find 3 or 4 data points that would support key observations from multiple angles. So it's interesting, despite that, or maybe as a result of that, some people have said I've praised China, but when I ask them objectively, where in the report do you see praise? I mean, you're reading praise out of very objective data, and that's a different thing. And I was pleased to see that because, you know, you have to respect the achievements of countries and of people, especially in the face of something so scary and dangerous as this situation was. So some people they walk a fine line with me on this now, and I think the power of our report is that it's not a media piece, with full respect to the media, and it is not an advocacy piece or propaganda piece. It is simply an explanations of facts and their implications. What people challenge is, can our societies do that? My response to that way is, look, I grew up in the West, and I keep hearing we have the best system in the world. You know, rather than beat up China's, why don't we prove it if ours is better? Let's see what we can do when the chips are down and we're facing a dangerous disease. You know, I'm not going to make a judgment. Let's see how we take care of our people.
Exactly.
Because in China, they're trying to do that.
And by the way, it's not China versus the rest of the world. It's rather China with the rest of the world. That is the logic here.
Absolutely. And again, it was one of those things that inspired me, how much the people of China felt accountable for a global situation and helping on that. And whether it was the docs saying, look, we want to share our information, we're publishing it, we're pushing it out so people can see it and share it. The pride they took in their achievements and their ability to share it.
Earlier, you were participating, if I remember right, in Zika virus research, Ebola, yellow fever. You were also a Dustin Hoffman figure in the movie Outbreak. I'm sure you witnessed many of the previous cases. What about this time? Can we do it better?
Yeah, so my first observation, Wei, would be we're getting better at research in emergencies.
What do you mean by that?
A lot of credit goes to the What I mean is we're getting more organized. We're understanding what are the key questions that need to be answered, and we're trying to coordinate and cooperate much more quickly on that. we're sharing the results much more quickly than in the past. Major journals are not holding and taking long terms to review things. They're sharing it. So we're also setting up what we call R&D blueprints around every major crisis. And this is an initiative WHO learned out after Ebola, where we bring together the top researchers, set the top questions, and try and direct money and resources at those key questions. So in those ways, we're getting better. But we can do better, and this crisis really demonstrates that. Right now, if you look at the research around COVID-19, it's incredible. Thousands of flowers blossoming,
yes,
let's say, in terms of this. There's research being done everywhere, but the problem is, for a lot of policymakers, they're bewildered by the number of studies that are being proposed. So one of the things we tried to do when we were in China was to say, look, these are the things you have to have. These are the ones that are nice to have. It's great that we're doing the research, but from the center, in a crisis like this, you have got to be focused on, what was the term they use in the U.S., the moonshots, you know, those big initiatives. So whether it's a serologic test, whether it's testing some of the, not every antiviral, but the ones that we know have actually got promise, you know, get those at the top of the list. Because what's happening is, and even in China we're seeing this, although there's lots of people suffered from COVID in the country, cases are dropping very quickly, so there's not a lot of patients to enroll in trials. And if the patients aren't getting enrolled into the right trials because there's so many different trials going on, you're not going to answer the key questions. Similarly with the public health research. So we can still do better, and this is where, you know, central authorities are so important to coordinate that research. And in China, one of the big learnings I had on this trip that I was really impressed with is everybody thinks of the central control of China, but people forget how diverse the provinces are, how talented they are, how much expertise is, and how much is happening at the provincial level. Yeah. So it's a big challenge in a country the size of China to really promote those key moonshots that are critical. So we're getting better at the research in crises. We're getting better at, we're faster at doing it, faster at funding it, faster at sharing it. But we're still, there's still some things we could do to prioritize the most important things.
Dr. Aylward, before we go, I do have some minor question for you, but also important. I mean, when you were in China together with the rest of the international team members, what was it like for you to communicate with the headquarters, with Dr. Tedros, for example, at the WHO in Geneva, and also with your local team here in China? I mean, for you, this must be a very intense time, but at the same time, how does WHO work in that sense?
Well, the amazing thing about Dr. Tedros is he doesn't communicate with you when you're running an independent mission. Dr. Tedros did not read the report until he received it from us. He did not comment on preliminary drafts. He said, I cannot interfere with, if I even read it, I'm going to have a comment that could influence things. And he said, you have to do, you know, the team has to do its work, and then we will get the report, and I will publish it immediately because the world needs to see what they think. Dr. Tedros is courageous like that. When he will support China, which he did and he continues to do, but if there's going to be an independent panel that includes experts from around the world, he sees a huge responsibility in making sure he doesn't interfere with that process, and he didn't. Our local country team, I'm going to sing their praises like I do of others that I met in China. We would not have been successful without huge help from the National Health Commission, obviously, and the government of China to make sure we could get where we wanted, see what we needed to see, etc. But also our country team was so helpful in helping us with a lot of really basic logistics. You know, we had to sleep somewhere, we had to be able to get to meetings, we had to be able to work with the NHC, we had to be able to access information, and again, they've been living this disease, so they have strong opinions about it, and they have lots of ideas, but they never ever force those ideas on us, would only answer questions. And it really helped me see another side of WHO after 30 years of working here, and I was impressed as well.
And final question for you, Dr. Aylward. You've been also, during that trip, interacting with Chinese medical workers. And I also understand you had previous experiences with them as well on different occasions. So what was that working style with them? Meanwhile, the medical workers in China have been devoting themselves, their lives, to the front line. So what was your personal interactions with them like?
So in the course of my career, I had the privilege to work in China a few times, but many years ago as part of another important disease. And at that time, it was the initiative to eradicate polio, where, again, China did a stunning job. But and so I came back 25 years later to really work at a province level again, and not just with clinicians, but also with public health workers. So clinicians, public health workers, and caregivers like nurses, et cetera, who play such important roles. And how far the country has come in 2 decades is stunning. When I was there the previous time, I was always impressed by how hard people worked, how open they were, how eager to learn, how eager to share. But now the level of sophistication, I mean, China was always so promising, but it really is not world class, but world leading now. And so I was impressed with the humility of the people I worked with how hard they worked, and also with how eager they were to share, and the pride. But it wasn't an arrogant pride. It was a very modest pride and sense of responsibility. Again, I used the word earlier. I left inspired and with a deep admiration for the common Chinese people that I worked with.
You said the other day, behind every window.
Oh, one last point, Wei, about that.
Go ahead. Go ahead, sir.
One last point before we talk about that was, I worked hard when I was in China, and I work hard since I'm back. I was sleeping 2 hours, 3 hours a night for a couple of weeks. But the Chinese colleagues were working so much harder. And one of the things that I keep telling my colleagues here is, every time we got on a plane or on a train or on a little bus or a van, when I would turn around to ask one of my Chinese colleagues something, they were fast asleep because they're exhausted. They're working such hard, long hours. They would grab a wink of sleep wherever they could. And it just reminded me again and again of how hard they're working, and that incredible sense of duty to save lives in the country.
You are too, sir, I have to say, because a lot of people know about your name now in China. By the way, before we go, I do want to reflect back about one report which quoted you as saying, inside every building in Wuhan, behind every window in Wuhan, there are people who are trying to do their best in order to fight this fight. And now I'm wondering, when are you going to come back and see these people in person?
Yeah. I was really touched in Wuhan. The real heroes of this response are those people, sitting home in skyscrapers and apartment buildings for weeks on end. And the few that I did meet, they said, we're playing our role, we're doing our part. And that is so powerful, and the world just owes such a huge debt to the people of Wuhan. And I just wanted the people of Wuhan to know that the world knows that, and we're sharing that story. What you're doing is so important. And when we get this under control, I'd be delighted to come back. But we have a lot of other places to get dealt with. But no, you leave a little bit of your heart in China, and especially in a place like Wuhan at a time like this.
You're welcome back when it is the right time, when time is ripe, as they say. Thank you so much. 谢谢您，谢谢 Dr. Bruce Aylward, the WHO epidemiologist who also led the WHO China Joint Mission on COVID-19. Thank you so much, sir. Really appreciate it. Do get a little sleep if you can.
Thank you, Wei, and thank you for what you do. Journalists and people with a platform like yours are so important to this disease. It's what the population knows, what they understand, and understanding it accurately, because the population is what's going to stop COVID. Not the doctors, not the nurses. We deal with consequences. It's your population and people like you who are telling them what to do that are so important. So thank you for everything you do as well.
Thank you, Bruce. Hope to talk soon. Welcome back. You're still watching World Insight. I'm Tian Wei. A little effort goes a long way. Amid the COVID-19 outbreak, music of support from around the world are bringing comfort to people in Hubei and around China. In Switzerland, a pop band named Stevens turned their good wishes into a music video. The band, which toured China last year, recently composed a new song called China is Strong, dedicated to beating the global epidemic. The music video was posted by the Swiss Embassy in China on Weibo, cheering on Chinese people battling the outbreak.
Hey China, we love you, and with this song, I want to give you hope. China is strong. We pray for you.
As COVID-19 spread to more than 70 countries, the band's home country, Switzerland, has also recorded more than 50 known cases. Facing a common threat to humanity, music has indeed become the universal language. In an exclusive interview with Yvonne, the band's founder, he told me the story behind the work with a message of love and hope, something as simple as China, 加油. Yvonne, good to see you finally.
Ni hao, China.
Ni hao, Yvonne, in Geneva. So we all heard your song, such a lively, rhythmic, vitality song. Tell me more about it.
Well, we were in touch with the Chinese people, also from the Swiss embassy, who told us about this this phrase that you pronounce in China, which is 中国加油 and Wuhan 加油. And I was thinking, since we really love China and we wanted to bring our support, I was thinking about doing a little song, you know, a bit more positive, because I know there's a lot of also sad songs that are spread on internet in China, and I wanted to also just say, okay guys, let's go together, and also let's believe in the nice issue of this virus. And so we did this song with a rhythmic sound, and that's about it.
Let's go together. But, you know, who came up with the lyrics, and why did you guys wanted to do this song?
Well, you know, about 2 years ago, no one of us went to China, you know, and the Swiss Embassy and Alliance Française have a festival called Mars en Folie, and last year we were invited to do 10 concerts in China. And we had such an amazing experience with Chinese people and the country, the food, the culture, you know, that I don't know, there is something particular with China, and we felt very concerned also about this coronavirus, since you are such a big country with so many people. We felt the need to give the support and to do it in a nice way, and I did the lyrics. I didn't think too much about the lyrics. It's 中国加油, Wuhan 加油, and then say that China is strong and China will survive, and the rest of the world will survive to the coronavirus. We just have to be patient and to do the necessary to avoid the fast spreading of the virus.
I especially love that cat, the cat that has been waving its arms. Yeah. Oh, yes, exactly.
China is tough.
Exactly.
I'm a bad cat. I'm a bad cat. Yeah, yeah.
There's a lot of you know, element, but there's a
you know,
cultural element, but also a lot of energy in that specific gesture.
yeah, you know, it was nice because the person from Sina, the social network, asked us also to take some images, and I went to my guitar player Jan Secrest, that's his name, and his girlfriend is a big fan of cats, so they have like 5 or 6 cats. So we came up with this idea to, you know, just tungo chayo, and the poor cat is a bit like, he doesn't really understand, but
Yeah.
I mean, now he's a superstar in China, so it was worth it.
You know, we laugh at this moment, Yvonne, because we together experienced so much over the past 2 months, to say the least. But it's important from time to time that we have a laughter, right? And we know there is something stronger here inside than the pressure and the challenges from outside and from the virus.
Yeah, of course, but I mean, you see in Switzerland they forbid now all the concerts and all the gathering of maximum 1,000 people. If it's 1,001 person, the show is cancelled. So we have the same thing, for example, le Salon de l'Auto, you know, the car saloon, is like 35 per 1,000 people, so they cancelled it, you know.
Yeah.
And I think it's important that everybody also knows and realize that it's an important and dangerous virus. People die of this virus, but it's not more dangerous than the classical seasonal flu, you know, and all the specialists are here also just to remind to people not to panic, and we have to be careful. Everybody has to be careful, but I am, since the beginning of that flu, of that coronavirus, I have been really positive about the issue, and you see what we experience now in Switzerland is exactly the same that you in China experienced 1 month ago. We start to realize that every day there's more and more cases. So some people are panicking. You cannot buy masks in pharmacy. There's no more items of it, and some people are just taking the situation slowly and just believe in good faith, you know. It's going to be fine, I'm sure.
With artists like you guys, we will be fine. I think there's something about inner heart and the inner strength that could help us go through these kind of difficult times. It's true, isn't it?
It's a united front, absolutely. And it's also interesting to know that some people were saying we have to close the borders of the country and all, and this is ridiculous. We cannot do that. Now, it's also here to remind us that the economy is always so fast. We are always looking so much for gaining money and all. Now with this virus, there's some economical consequences that are not good, but I think it's also a good time to think about how the world has evolved and the pursuit of money, and now we just have to relax, stay home, read a book, and have a good Swiss cheese fondue. And I think it's also important to have that kind of moments in our societies. Yeah.
But Yvonne, would you like to tell us about What is your plan? I mean, as an artist, you know, going through this very special period of time and seeing people's life changed, life lost, but also family, more reunions, more warmth, more
Yeah.
greetings, more cares for one another. What was it like for you as an artist to go through this period of time?
It is very inspiring because we you know, for example, we are going tomorrow for a 1-month tour in South America, and yet the virus hasn't been very big there. We don't know how it's going to evaluate, but again, as I told you before, it is very sad for the people who lose their lives during that period of time, but it's also important to realize some things, you know, and see how people maybe reconnect.
Yeah.
Or the other people who say, do not come close to me, you have the virus, you know. So you can see when there's crisis like that, you can really see what's in people's mind, you know. And you can see the, I think the honesty of people. So it's very inspiring, and we love to go around the world to travel.
They say, Yvonne, it's a test at the time of a disaster of this scale. It's a test of a lot of things, of our capabilities, of our resolve, and of our, you know, sincere feeling toward one another. I guess it's so, isn't it?
Absolutely. I feel the same. I don't know if I can say that I believe in God, but I really believe in universe, you know. And I mean, I didn't wait for the coronavirus to happen to think that sooner or later we are going to pay. And it's already started with all the natural catastrophe and the lack of water in this planet. I mean, nature will always be stronger than humankind. So eventually we have to pay and think about it and think about the possible changes, you know. And the young people, I really hope the young people are going to make the difference.
Yvonne, let me ask you about your band. I mean, in order to have this social distancing, you guys are really scattered around. 4-people band, and you have 4 people at 4 different places. How are you likely to band and practice, rehearsal?
Yeah, we don't practice. No, but now we know the song, you know, since it has been a certain while, and in South America we are only going as an electro duo with Jan, the guitar player, and me. But when we came to China, we were also with CJ, the bass player, and Leo, the drummer, that maybe you saw in the video. We see them a little bit. And hopefully when we come back to China, we will come, all of us, the 4 people, because it's also good to be all together, you know.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to the final triumph of human being over the virus. At that time, we really need some of your music to have some disco and sweat it out.
And if we can help people and also help ourselves to dance and to laugh and to have a little cool time in this difficult period, then it's mission accomplished.
Mission accomplished. Looking forward to it. Together, as you say. Yvonne, what a pleasure.
Yeah.
So maybe
and
I
all
say
the best with you guys in China, and 中国加油!
Yes, exactly. Thank you so much, Yvonne.
中国加油! Wuhan 加油!
Okay, thanks.